Hey, this is Chris. In this video, I wanted to take you along to a couple of local museums that I tend to frequent for doing black and white photography, especially in medium and large format. We'll be doing 4x5 in this video. So also a couple of other places nearby that have some old abandoned equipment, railroad equipment and things I'd like to photograph. So take you along and show you those photos. The cameras in this video are going to be the Nagoka wooden field camera for a little bit here in the first photos, and then we'll switch to my usual super graphic 4x5 camera. So I'll describe what lenses and things are on there when we get to the different scenes. So the film I'm using in this video is, I think it's pretty much all FP4, 4x5 FP4. So anyway, come along and we'll go see what we can drum up at the local railroad and antique truck museum. So here's a little Nagoka wooden field camera, and this is kind of the earlier generation of the Nagokas. This day I have a 135mm Fujinon lens on there. Usually I use a 150 lens on the Nagoka, but I put the 135 on it for this day. And I've got that sitting on a whole Davidson Star D tripod, which is basically just a direct Tiltal knockoff. And then what I'm photographing here is this old Northwestern Pacific tank car, and I've done a lot of photos of this tank car over the years. It just has all kinds of nice details, the rivets on there, those hand grabs sticking out there, and then the two big straps there, they're right in front of the camera. This time are what's holding the tank body, the tank itself, to the frame. And another look at the Nagoka there. But the tank car, it's painted silver, which makes it a bit unusual in railroad equipment. A lot of railroad equipment is very dark. And this silver tank car is just great because you get all these nice details against the shadows, but the shadows don't necessarily go black. When you go to print the picture, you can decide how dark you want the shadows because they're going to be darker than the things that are out in the sun in front of them. So it gives you a lot of control over how light and dark you want things to be in these images. So I just love this tank car. I've done a bunch of different photos of this thing over the years, and it's always sort of the first thing I go back to see what the lighting is like on it. Of course, different cloud effects or different times of day completely change the way the thing looks, and from one side to the other as well. So here's the photo I was making with that setup, that strap and the old signboard there. So then moving up the tank car just a few feet is the logo, the old Northwestern Pacific logo, which I like quite a bit as well. It's a little bit harder to photograph because of the sunlight coming across it like that. And then those rivet lines are also very nice there on either side of it. We're going to see that as well. So here's what the logo ended up looking like. It's kind of so-so, but it's a neat logo. It's hand painted on there, really kind of neat old sign painting artwork. And then that's one of the rivet lines that was there next to it. So you just get this beautiful side lighting and great grayscale on these photographs. So the next thing I did was just turn about 45 degrees to the left at the ladder. Again, just this beautiful side lighting and this contrast between what's out in the sun and then some very open shade behind it. You can see that tank car in the distance there. It's just a lot more drab looking, a lot harder to separate things on a tank car like that rusty one back there. But this silver one just looks so good with the lighting on it. So just one of my favorite subjects of this entire museum out here. So what I was going to do was end up moving in a bit, rotated the camera back to vertical for this one, kind of like that ladder rivet one was, and then I'm also going to move in fairly close like this. Got to be real careful with the lens shading with the sun up behind me like that. So again, this is Ilford FP4 film through the Nagoka 4x5. So before we go out to a couple more rail car features, let's go over to the truck museum where they have a bunch of trucks and tractors and different kinds of equipment on display and sort of stockpiled as well. Again, my super graphic Manfrotto tripod, photographing these wheels. These were old solid tire truck wheels, no air in them. They were just solid rubber tires. When they age, they turn that really white, light gray color. Makes them a little bit hard to print actually because you're trying to get them looking light but not go dead gray, so it's kind of a fine line in there. But it's just kind of a neat little array of wheels, the way they've got them leaned up against a stack here. So again, this is going to be Ilford FP4 film, and I believe that's the 150 Fujinon still on there that we just had at a truck museum, because I think this was the same day. And there's what I managed to do with that. Quite a bit of forward front tilt on this image to bring everything into focus. And then also at the truck museum, this old metal, it's a truck body is what it is, very old one with the metal straps and everything on galvanized metal sides in there. Beautiful sideline, it's almost like we had at the Railroad Museum, which isn't very far away. And beautiful shadows cast across there. And just looking around, you can see why I like these kinds of museums. I can end up with lots of things to photograph in a place like this. A lot of close-ups more than anything, but all kinds of neat shapes and different light against dark textures and everything going on. So this is this old truck body here. So our next location is a few miles away on the edge of the desert, where these old rail cars, I believe these are from the 1880s, they're old wooden passenger cars. The railroad put them out here and used them as crew housing, basically for section crews, for track maintenance crews, in the 1930s, I believe, up until about the 1970s or so. There were several of these. I think there were 5 of them, and 2 of them got moved to the museum, what we just were. And the rest of them are still sitting out here by the railroad tracks, not in as good a shape. I think they figured they were going to break apart if they tried to move them. These cars have a wooden frame. See those beams sticking out? Those are actually the frame beams. And then they were plumbed. They had little heaters inside and gas heaters and things like that, kitchen sink, that kind of thing. The bathroom was actually outside. They had a shared bathroom. So what I'm photographing with is the Super Graphic. Again here, my trusty old Super Graphic sitting on my Manfrotto tripod. And it looks like I've got the 150 Fujinon lens on there today. I have a couple different lenses I use on these cameras. So 150 Fujinon. And then what I'm looking at is this wooden texture, the stuff here on the side, this broken wood sticking out, and the kind of the gap in there. There's a little nail hanging out across that opening on the wood there. I'm not getting any of the sky through the windows. I'm just getting the wood on the side, so kind of a detail. So this worked out very nice looking on the Ilford FP4 in 4x5. So in the same area as this old railroad tank car, this actually used to be used as a fire protection car, as a water tank car with a pump on top for fighting fires. This used to be way out in the desert in a canyon, and they pulled it in about 25 years ago and sort of dumped it here along next to the tracks. What's really great about this rail car isn't so much the sides of it, though, it's what's on the end. Let me show you real quick. So what they had done was mounted an old automobile headlight, like from the 1930s, on this thing to use as a light, which is all broken and messed up now, with a conduit pipe angling off down to the side with a wire going through it. This scene is absolutely stunning. This is the kind of thing that when I walk around something like this and I see it, I realize that, wow, that's a portfolio image waiting to happen. So here I have the Super Graphic again, the 150 Fujinon lens on there on the Manfrotto tripod. It's going to be Ilford FP4 film. Took a couple of different scenes of it this day. This one's at a little bit of an angle. The one I'm going to show you at the end here is actually a little bit more straight on of the scene. But that's just a stunning shape up there between the light itself and then the shadows up there. And then this is what that image looks like. So I absolutely love the light and the shadows and everything on this. So I want to thank you for coming along on my little 4x5 outings in recent trips to the different museums, and I'll see you in the next video.